Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. My name is Graham Elwood. Welcome to the Political Vigilante. Hello, citizens of Gotham. Good to see everybody. Yeah, I was going to go live at 2, and then Jimmy was already on. Decided, but it worked out because I put together a couple more segments in that time. And now, who we will have joining us is the delightful Ron Placone. Will be joining us momentarily. He's going to hop on for a little bit here. So thank you to everybody watching us over at Facebook Live and of course YouTube, and then over at the Rockfin. Please, we're in month 7 of demonetization. 6 months since we filed the appeal, March 3rd. Yes, it's the 6-month anniversary of filing an appeal. March, April, May, June, July, August, ladies and gentlemen. So it's fantastic. We're in month 7 of being demonetized, month 6 of waiting for our appeal that was supposed to be answered within 30 to 60 days. So that is what is going on. And so since we are, please join us over at rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. We did. And if you, for $10 a month, you can do the Rockfin Premium. We did the Graham's Late Night Crypto Lounge last night. Had over 100 people watching on a premium members exclusive live stream, and that's the largest audience we've ever had, which is great. So join us over at Rockfin, and when you do the tip feature, it's like a super chat feature, and I can answer your question. Boom. So we're just waiting on Ron to join us. And of course, Kate, our moderator. Thank you to everybody who is in the chat. What's up, Beauty and the Diabetes? That's funny. Silver Tarot 25, Holly Horn. Hello, everybody. Chris Garrett, Chimchuree. The gang is all here. James Martin, Sean Smith, hello. Venetia David, what is up? Good to see you. Bob, hello. Andy Winter, Quando. Alex, I just came from the Jimmy Dore show, listening while making kale chips like a vegan weirdo that I am. Hello from Finland. Stop pushing. You're pushing big kale. See, you're pushing it. So as Ron Placone joins us, ladies and gentlemen, we will. Hello, Tony DeMeo over at Rockfin, and Jay Castor and S-Coin. What is up? I love when you and Ron are together. So do I. That's why. Yeah, that's why I love having Ron on the show, because it's just fun. I laugh. I have good times. Jimmy just got done. We are coming in outstanding. Of course, Ron and I are going to be going on the road. Anyone defending TYT needs a refresher course in leftism. No, it's just online MSNBC is what TYT is. The middle-aged McCarthyites, as Aaron Matei calls them. Oh, thank you, Kate. Got your message. Let's see. Pin message. Thanks for that reminder, Kate. Kate, our moderator, show her some love. Tony DeMeo, shave your knuckles for justice, Tony. Thank you for supporting us at rockfin.com. If you go over to rockfin.com/Graham Elwood and do a tip, what Tony just did, I will read your question. I'm usually worried about the student loan forbearance expiring and inflicting more misery. I am glad Trump passed that. I'm really worried about the student loan forbearance expiring and inflicting more misery. I'm glad Trump passed that. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we're going to talk about the eviction moratorium. They pressured Biden. I'm going to do a segment on that. And they, so he just extended that moratorium, but it's not a moratorium. Doesn't do it, doesn't fix the problem. The problem is billions of dollars in back rent. And then you've got the student loan forbearance expiring. You've got all of these things expiring. They're just like, there's going to be this perfect storm of an economic collapse. And they might just kind of keep sort of propping it up. So it's just sort of a slow, it's not just like a big destruction. It's just going to get slow, and America will just keep limping along. That's like the best option, you know. Venetia David, shave your knuckles for justice. Thank you for supporting us at Rockfin. Shave your knuckles for justice. And I will. Thank you. Hit the like button on whatever platform you are watching. Ladies and gentlemen, I see him in the digital waiting room. Host of Get Your News On with Ron. And bought and paid for by Big Cat. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Lacone.
What's up, Graham? How are you?
Dude, I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. I am awaiting a friend's arrival, but happy I could stop by for a little bit and say hey. And I popped in here. I could tell you're talking about some uplifting shit. America might limp along. I think that's your newest T-shirt. It's just you on a surfboard going, hopefully America limps along. Shave your knuckles for justice.
Isn't that the best case scenario? Is America just limping? That's the best case scenario. Is America just limps along and slowly becomes like Brazil? That's the best outcome.
Yeah. Limping along means not doing war. So that tracks.
Yeah.
Limping along.
That's the best we can do. Well, I wanted to get into this segment, Ron, and have you comment on it. So you got time for one segment, right? You got a little bit.
Let's do one segment, Graham Elwood. Let's do it.
One hot, fresh segment. Okay. So let me get this all teed up, ladies and gentlemen. I'll bring Ron Placone here in a sec. All right. No. Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching The Political Vigilante. So the eviction moratorium just lapsed. Now we've just got breaking news that Joe Biden got pressured enough. But I wanted to kind of go through what's been going on. Cori Bush was sleeping on the steps of the Capitol. You know, Max Blumenthal was out there trying to ask people questions, and he got it's just madness what's going on in America. But this is from Paula Jean Swears, and it came out a little bit yesterday. Democrats have the majority. So much for the pipe dream. This is exactly one of the reasons why I left the Democratic Party. Struggling Americans don't want breadcrumbs while our leaders feast off of our struggles, Occupy Congress, and the corruption. This is full Democratic leadership. By the way, that's the thing. Like, you know, there and I even watched like Democracy Now, and they're trying to like pin this on the Republicans. This is the Democrats control Congress, and they control the Senate as well. She also put, if the squad was sincere about their campaign promises, Cori Bush would not be sleeping on the U.S. Capitol steps by herself tonight. The fraud squad just showed up for photo ops and left. Now, this just came in today, like literally maybe an hour or so ago. For those who don't believe you that direct action works, look at Representative Cori has done. This is from Medea Benjamin at Code Pink, sleeping on the Capitol steps to force Biden to extend the moratorium on evictions. Thank you, Representative Cori Bush. Almost there. And we're going to talk about in a sec. I'm going to ask, again, this is just kicking the can down. I'm glad they but it's not enough. So then Nick is a Fred Hampton leftist. Nick, we've had on the show before. And Fred Hampton leftist has a great podcast. Wait, Democrats are legit trying to pin the eviction crisis on Republicans when they have full control of the government. That's what they were trying to do. The Republicans are preventing this. Wait a minute. You control the Congress. You control the Senate. You control the White House. How are the Republicans doing this? So this is just insane. And I wanted to bring Ron Placone on here to discuss this. Ron.
Hey, Graham.
Hi. This is such madness. I mean, I'm glad Joe Biden got pressured enough and Cori Bush sleeping on the steps like that action. I guess I'm glad that the eviction moratorium is getting extended, but two things. One, when are the vote any blue will do people going to wake up to how awful the Democrats are? And this like, well, the Republicans, how are the Republicans stopping? The Republicans aren't blocking any of this. So, and two, and I'm going to get into it in a second here. We need money for rent relief.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so I mean, how do you see, this last day or so of this, and the theatrics by the squad? I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, here's the thing about that. I mean, there were some ridiculous photo op moments during this whole thing. I mean, I don't know if you saw the one picture of it was Chuck Schumer and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I forget who the other person in the picture was, but they were listening to Chuck Schumer and he was explaining something, and it looked like the most staged photo I've ever seen in my life. However, regardless of all that, because activists and journalists showed up, that legitimized everything. So their presence changed the game. So yeah, I am glad that happened. Like you're saying, I'm glad it happened. I'm glad there is some action. Is it anywhere close to enough? No. And I know that we're still hearing the details here, but it's a limited moratorium. Like, it depends on the circumstance, like who is still safe, basically. But if people are kept in their homes, obviously I'm thrilled. That's a good thing. People need to be given actual relief. That's the issue. But yeah, I'm glad that's happening. And as far as like your question, when are these any blue will do people going to get fed up with the Democratic Party? I think we're still waiting, because Nancy Pelosi, I mean, not only did they all blamed the Republicans, then they all blamed, or Nancy Pelosi at least, blamed the CDC. Like, she blamed the CDC. Like, it's like she was just looking for anyone she could to blame. And even AOC actually said something about that. I think it was on CNN. AOC said, well, actually, we Democrats, we have all the control. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm glad it's something as opposed to nothing at all. But yeah, we still got a long way to go out of this mess. But it's one of those things where it's like you kind of hope for those small victories, even though, you wonder, like, well, where are we going to land at the end of all this,
Well, yeah, because that's the thing. I mean, it's the thing we all talked about over a year ago, and the first stimulus plan, gave $4.25 trillion to big corporations and Wall Street and all that. And there was no rent relief in there was no rent relief in that first bill that should have had rent relief. And now, and I want to bring this up. So, hold on here. Where's this at? So I want to bring this up real quick. So first of all, there's been no real rent relief, right? So $20 billion. This is, I just did this on a search engine. According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, it would cost $20 billion to end homelessness in the United States. That's the homeless issue, which is only going to get worse whenever this moratorium ends, right? And we all know that, hey, the democratically controlled Senate just gave Joe Biden an extra $25 billion. An extra $25 billion for the war budget. So that right there, just that money alone, we could have $5 extra billion, which is the cost of what it cost, Jeff Bezos's cock rocket to fly around Earth for 4 minutes was. So there's that. This money for war could end homelessness. But then there's this article, historic eviction crisis is coming. And this came out July 28th. So like last week, in the next days, a housing expert warns. And they interviewed this woman, Eleni Benfer, is a visiting professor of law and public health at Wake Forest and the chair of American Bar Association's Task Force Eviction Committee on Eviction. So these are all the stats going into this. So again, and it's staggering. It's staggering. So the share of adult renters who remain behind on their housing payments is around 16%. And that hasn't been dropping. With all this stuff opening up and people going back to work, it hasn't been dropping. And one of the things, the last stimulus bill had $45 billion in rent relief. Apparently only around 3 billion out of the 45 billion Congress has allocated in rental assistance has reached households by the end of June. And of course, it's bureaucracy and nonsense. Why wasn't everybody just given, like they did in Canada and Australia and a bunch of other countries? People were just given like $3,000 a month. We were demanding for UBI last spring when the shutdown first happened, demanding it, couldn't get it. Eviction makes it incredibly challenging too. That's the other thing about eviction. It's not that you just don't have a place to live. It makes it challenging to secure housing in the future because it creates a mark on a person's record. Eviction prevention must be our national priority. Without it, we'll see multi-generational impacts that our country will be hard-pressed to ever recover from. So, Ron, I bring this to you because, like, this again, like you say, keeping people in their homes, that Biden stepping in on the moratorium, great, but this isn't the $45 billion isn't even reaching people.
Right. Yeah.
Why is this so complicated? Like, this should have been handled last year. People should have been having their rent paid, and we know this. Well, first of all, had they given a bunch of people last year during the first CARES Act money for rent, then the landlords, because a lot of landlords are just small business owners. Some of them are big corporations, but a lot of them are just small business owners. They're just like a married couple that bought they had a little extra money. They bought a rental property.
Right.
They had a room to rent, or they converted their garage into a studio apartment or whatever. They bought a 1-bedroom condo and rented it out and made a little side income. So when people lost their jobs because of COVID and couldn't pay their bills and weren't given rent relief, then the landlords are jammed up. The landlords are in forbearance with the mortgage companies, because they haven't been receiving rent, so they haven't been able to pay the mortgage. So what this woman is talking about is things that I've talked about on this show, I'm sure you have on yours, about there's this huge house of cards coming. There's going to be this awful domino effect. So extending the moratorium is great, but what's really, okay, the moratorium is going to end eventually. What's going to happen? Just more photos on the steps of the Capitol building? What are they going to do?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Our UBI went to Wall Street and we watched it happen. They had this insane upward transfer of wealth. There are, are there some landlords who are just, mom and pop people who just have one investment property? Totally. There's others who are these big developers who are still finding ways to kick people out of their homes, and they're straight up predators. And I think this really, if we want to get into the theme of it, there is no way to entertain the value or principle that housing is a human right in a system like ours. That's why it's so ridiculously, tragically comical to see these politicians tweeted, "We're united on our stance that housing is a human right." No, you're not. You can't guarantee housing is a human right under the system we have here in the United States that allows for for predatory housing practices to take place, that allows a system in which 40% of homeless people are employed, that allows a system where housing is unaffordable pretty much everywhere. You can't afford an apartment anywhere on minimum wage in this freaking country. It's our system that allows all this to happen. And me personally, I'm at the point, I don't think private property should be a thing. And when I say that, I don't mean this is not my shirt. This is my shirt. But I think when it comes to land and property, people should be in possession of it. They shouldn't own it. And it should be kind of orchestrated to guarantee housing is a human right. I understand that's not a change I will ever see in my lifetime. So what I would rather see is, something like what they do in other countries where they really don't have these problems, or at least nowhere near to the magnitude that we have. You look at places like Denmark, some of countries like that, all of their quote landlords are people in the, hey, we're a couple who has one investment property type situation. You're not allowed to become some big time developer in a place like that. It's against the law. You're also not allowed to have, more than a handful of properties. I think in a lot of those countries, you're allowed to have your primary residence. You're allowed to have like maybe one rental property. And then if you have anything else, it has to be like a lake house or something like that, like a house specifically used for vacation. And you got to prove it basically. So there's other countries where, well, private property does still exist as far as housing is concerned. They have a lot more rules and regulations that protect people, and they don't have the homelessness crisis that we have.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing that I feared a little over a year ago when the CARES Act first came out is I said, be careful. They're going to use this as a land grab like they did with the housing crisis, because this is what happened over 10 years ago. These big management companies, developers, but mainly property management companies, they did this in California. I did videos on this. They bought up short sales and foreclosures, right? And then started renting those out. That's one of the reasons the rents have gone so. And that wasn't just California. This happened all over the country. But the main reason California's rents are so high is specifically they bought up people that were behind, were facing eviction, or, and wanted out. A short sale is better for your credit rating because an eviction stays on your credit for a long time. I can tell you, or a bankruptcy, or foreclosure. Well, bankruptcy and evictions all stay on there. I personally had a foreclosure and a bankruptcy on my credit, and it was on there for a long time. And so they went to people who were like behind and we're facing foreclosure and said, we'll buy it out. We'll give you a little money, a little cash for keys and all this. We buy homes. You saw those signs everywhere. And that's what's going to happen now. So Biden just extends the moratorium. I bet you he just got a bunch of phone calls from all these big donors that went, wait a minute, Joe, you're supposed to kick these people out because we want to scoop up all their homes, because the ruling class just can't get enough. They are like crazy crack addicts that never get enough. They've got all of our money. They've got us all in debt. They want to take up all of our homes, and now they want to kick us out. And they want to get rid of the mom and pop landlords as well. I'm sure of it, because it's like, we got to get those people out of the equations, because, those people might be nice to their tenants. They might go, oh, we don't want to charge you too much or whatever for rent. They want to kick them out so they can gouge people rent. And if they own the majority of the property, then that's a monopoly and they can raise rents. That's what they can do. And so this really seems very coordinated, and eventually they're going to end this moratorium. Eventually it's going to end. And what? More stimulus money that just is caught in some Byzantine pipeline. I mean, you see it in LA. There is rent relief. You got to apply for it. It's this very lengthy process. You got to submit all these documents, and some people have gotten it, and great. And if you're in this position and they have rent relief in your state or your city, try to get it. But I know some people, and it is really difficult to get, rather than they can just send us checks in the mail. They can direct deposit all this money. Why can't they just go, here, you're behind on your rent, here you go, like they did to Wall Street?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And we should have, I think there's still that push that we could have for like what do you call it? Like a backdated emergency UBI. Mm-hmm. I think it's like every single American should be given, a backdated UBI similar to what other countries got, and just be given that lump sum. But no one with any power is even talking about that.
No.
Kind of thing. No one, like, you can't even utter the words.
Mm-mm.
And it's been like that the entire time. It's even during the election season, they weren't talking about that. They weren't talking. Republicans were talking about it. Democrats were talking about it. How telling was all that, where Democrats proved that they hate the American people so much they were willing to risk losing the White House again to make sure that there wasn't somebody in the office who might want to help people. They put up the only person who might be able to lose to Donald Trump, which is Joe Biden. They put him up because they'd rather have that than someone like Bernie Sanders, who would actually try to help people. And Republicans, they proved that they hated the American people so much, they're willing to lose the White House to make sure they don't have to help you. If they would have issued an emergency UBI, Donald Trump would still be president. They knew that. Think they don't know that? Mitch McConnell, they all knew that. They don't give a shit. They're like, no, we're not gonna. No, if it means helping people that much, we'll risk losing the White House. Joe Biden's pretty much ideologically the same as us anyway, and that's why it really is a one-party system. When Wall Street owns both of them,
yeah, there's no difference. There's There's no difference at all. And neither party, like you said, when Trump and the Republicans had control, they didn't give a shit about it. They weren't going to do a UBI during this pandemic, and they were going to send a $1,200 check. And that was that. And then, we can't get anything. And yeah, they should be backdating this, and they could give it directly to the landlords. They could figure out a way to do this. They could say, you have to use this money to pay back rent. And it would make the landlords whole. The banks would get their money. The banks who've been, in forbearance on all of these loans would be getting their money. So eventually Wall Street the banks would still get money. They just wouldn't, they'd get it after people got helped and bailed out, which is what should happen when a pandemic hits and the government shuts everything down and tells you can't work. Then the government should be paying you to stay home. Which is so insane.
That's how it should have been the past year. I mean, that's how it should have been. And Biden could forgive student loan debt. We don't even talk about that anymore. He could be doing more on climate change. We're not even talking about that anymore. He could legalize pot. We're not even talking about that anymore. I mean, just all these things where it's like you're doing nothing to help people during such a desperate time. Kids are still in cages, no minimum wage, no health care. And, they're finally conceding a little bit to keep people in their homes. And the only reason that is happening is because a bunch of people showed up in DC. And it's the people, I think, that really made the difference. And I'm glad that the politicians were there, because the fact that the politicians were there, I mean, Max Blumenthal was talking about this earlier. The fact that the politicians were there meant that the cops weren't cracking heads.
Right.
When elected officials show up, and then because they're there, a bunch of people show up and they're like, well, we're going to legitimize this, and we're going to be here too. Well, now the cops can't crack heads because there's a bunch of officials there. So, it's, again, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm not glad that people are going to stay in their homes, and I'm not glad that of course I'm glad about that, but we have a long way to go, and at least we're seeing now like what direct actions can do, that they can only ignore so much. And we're seeing things not just on the federal level, but also like on the state level, and then of course on the local level too. We're seeing things here in California that I've brought up a lot. Gavin Newsom's a little scared right now. He's a little afraid of this recall, and he's a little scared, and all of a sudden he's starting to deny fracking permits. He's starting to talk about this broadband. All of a sudden we had $7 billion to have the best infrastructure package in the freaking country, one of the best in the world. All of a sudden he just found it. It's just under a couch cushion. What are you going to do?
Weird.
And I get these text messages, and I get it. They're just from volunteers. I don't want to, I don't want to bark at a volunteer or anything like that, but they text me, and I text them back, and I'm going, look, is he going to support the single payer bill? I like that he's starting to turn down some fracking permits. Is he going to continue? Is he going to roll back the ones he already approved? How about this broadband infrastructure? Are we going to get delivery on that? Is that for sure? He has my back. Prove it. Prove it. And if he has my back and he proves it, I'll have his. You want my vote? Come freaking get it.
Come get it. Give us single payer healthcare in the state of California, something that Anthony Rendon and the rest of the state Democrats voted down in 2017. We should have single payer healthcare in the state of California. We could absolutely have that. It has the fifth largest economy in the world. So of course we can do that. So get my back. I ain't voting I don't care to support him in the recall. I don't give a shit if they recall. I don't care right now. If he's going to really actually be for real on the environment and not just, pay for teeth whitener while he hands out fracking permits, then I don't care. Then they'll recall him and put some dipshit Republican in there, and then he'll get voted out, and they'll put some dipshit Democrat back in there, and these two idiot parties will just be putting dipshits back in and forth and then in and out, while Californians will keep getting screwed over. So,
you know what's awesome? Revolving Dipshits has an R and a D. When you see RD, Revolving Dipshits. This is a t-shirt we need to make.
Yes.
We need to have like Revolving Dipshits.
Yes.
Oh man, sorry, I don't always look at the chat, but I kind of caught something out of the corner of my eye. Thank you, Cam35. I tried the blueberry in the freezer that you mentioned. It's like little popsicles, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Dude, it's the best. Do you pop your blueberries in the freezer and then eat them?
I put them in I put them in my smoothies, and sometimes I'll put cold blueberries on hot oatmeal, and
Oh, there you go.
it's
Man,
fantastic.
you're so fancy. Well, what about did you try my other well, here's another trick if anyone's interested. And I love doing this. I do this all the time now. I think I've said this before, but I'll repeat it again in case anyone's interested. Cut the or peel the top half of an orange, leave the bottom peel on so it's like a bowl, and put it in the freezer, and then take it out of the freezer once it freezes, and you eat it like you're eating ice cream or sorbet rather out of a bowl. It tastes like you're eating. It's so good. It's nature's candy. It tastes like you're eating sorbet. So
You
good.
you brought this up when we did You Should Know This last week, and I haven't had a chance to do it yet, Ron, but I will, since it seems like it's a life-changing event.
It's yeah, dude. I mean, seriously, because sometimes like you know how like oranges will get a little old and like they're not bad, but they're kind of like they shrivel a little bit. You
Yeah,
know what I
it
mean?
is
Like when
old.
they get that, they're still yummy. You could totally, if an orange is a little, and you're like, oh, this orange is a little old. It's not bad, but it's probably not going to be all that enjoyable. Instead of just taking it straight to compost, folks, what you do, you take the half off, you freeze it, you eat it like this. These are the I don't have shoes on right now. I am barefoot right now, giving you great advice on how to preserve an orange before the peel becomes compost back to Mother Earth.
So if I hear this correctly, what you're saying is you're giving this orange second life. It's kind of like those Nutrigenics ads where those older athletes are taking whatever testosterone boosters, and they talk about how it helps their love life.
Same, yeah. This is the exact same thing, really. This is like this is like steroids, but for oranges.
Okay. Okay, cool. I'm just trying to put it into terms I understand. Thank
You're
you
on
so
board.
much. Well, I know you probably got to go soon, Rob, but we got tour dates. We got tour
Dates,
there.
Graham. Yes, we do. We have a lot of them, and they start in September. Do not wait. Get your tickets now. San Francisco, Sacramento, Los Angeles. We'll be here, home in Los Angeles. We'll have a lot of special guests there. We'll also be in Tucson, Tempe, Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Philly, New York City, DC, Asheville, North Carolina, Jacksonville, Gainesville, Orlando, Miami, Tampa, Nashville, Louisville, Indianapolis, Chicago, Minneapolis, Madison. Don't wait. Get your tickets now. Romplacone.com or GrahamElwood.com for tickets. And hopefully we'll have some news on Atlanta soon. We're still finalizing a few details, but all those cities I just mentioned have been announced and tickets are available. Romplacone.com, GrahamElwood.com. Yes, Andy, Madison, Wisconsin, baby. We had a fun time there the first time. We'll be back.
So check that out. And then go watch Get Your News On with Ron, and enjoy that programming.
All right. Romplacone on all the socials, folks. Good talking to you, Graham.
All right, buddy. You got to run?
All right, man. Be well.
All right, man.
Peace.
Bye. Romplacone, everybody. Joining us here in Gotham. Hit the like button. We got over 500 people watching. This is awesome. Hit the like button. Share this out on your social media. We've got 251 likes. Let's get those likes up there. Like, likes got to match the viewers. Like, let's get that up and running. And then I will read your tips over on Rockfin. Craig Christoffel, shave your knuckles for justice, Craig. Elwood, one of the last best political commentators in America. Without the show and a handful of others, we'd all be listening to light corporate state media or nothing at all. Craig, thank you so much. I appreciate you supporting the show. I really do. We're trying our best here. The fact that it's down to like a handful of comedians, and then, people like Aaron Matei and Max Blumenthal, and, a handful of others, Abby Martin, whatever, Rania Kalik. I'm honored in the one hand, but it kind of like bums me out that really we're the last, the last hope. So I really appreciate you supporting what we're doing here. Thank you. Tony DeMayo, boom, T-Bone, how are you? We need to redistribute the wealth from the 1% to the poor so desperately. I know. And the thing that's so maddening, Tony, is if the 1% did that, they would still be plenty rich. You know what I mean? They would still have plenty of money. They would still have their fancy homes and their Lear jets, and they'd have all that. They wouldn't need as many. Like, they'd still eat at nice restaurants, their lives wouldn't change at all. At all. And they could make literally hundreds of millions of people's lives better. Billions of people around the world. If the global 1% did this, they could save so many people. They could make the world such a better place. It's so maddening. They had no. Let's see. Bo. Make sure I didn't miss any. All right, of the tips, folks. Right on. Hit the like button. 320 likes. Let's get that up to 400. Come on, hit the like button. Come on. Hoarding money is a mental illness. That's so true. That is so true. All right. Let's do another segment. Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Owen, and you are watching the Boom Political Vigilante. Great way to support the show is go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood, where you can submit articles like Independent Left News has done. Check them out. They're a great resource. Apparently, the GOP is grateful for Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, for however you say her name. Now, this was submitted. There's this woman that Independent Left News turned me on to, Lauren Elizabeth. She works in healthcare, and she's got really good. I think it's a Medium page where she's really showing the corruption of both parties. And in this thing, she talks about how this came out July 9th, but how these so-called Democrats. I mean, so we've got people like these two in the Joe Manchin's a Republican. So is this woman, pretty much. That's they're in the Democratic Party. And then we've got the fraud squad, right? The Progressive Caucus. And they're supposed to be these big progressive heroes, and they do nothing. So these are the options in the Democratic Party. Just flat out Republicans or do nothings that then blame everything on the Republicans. Like we just talked about how, Cori Bush camps out on the steps of the Capitol building, and all right, it's enough pressure was put on to make Joe Biden extend the eviction moratorium. Good. People are staying in their homes. That's a good thing. But the squad comes out and just does a photo op. But it's good that they showed up because media showed up, and but even then, like Max Blumenthal and people like that are asking like Adam Schiff these tough questions, and people are like, "Go easy on him. Don't be so mean." And it's like, that's the best they can do. And they're even the leading up to this eviction moratorium ending, the Democrats were talking like the Republicans were the problem. The Democrats control Congress. You cannot blame the Republicans, especially when you have Democrats like this. But the Progressive Caucus could get so much stuff done. The squad could get so much stuff done. I'm glad Cori Bush at least did this and slept outside. She's the only one that's ever been homeless. So I hope she realized she needs to do more stuff like this. They need to do stuff like this for Medicare for All. That's what Force the Vote was about. Big actions. Is this a performative act? Is this what AOC would have called what Cori Bush sleeping on the steps of the Capitol a performative act? That's what she called Force the Vote. She called it a performative act. So, but back to this story, these are Democrats. And this is why there's like no difference between the two parties and how they work together to screw us all over. Recently, Representative Andy Biggs of Arizona's 5th District was filmed speaking to a group where he said Andy Biggs is a Republican. But the reality is they're pushing as far as they can. Fortunately for us, the filibuster is still in effect in the Senate. Without that, we would be dead meat and this thing would be done. They'd be having a little bit more of frantic discussion than we're having today. But thank goodness for Senators Sinema and Joe Manchin. That's a Republican speaking. Whew. Right? And now, Democrats that, people, the voting blue will do crowd that tries to defend the squad. So then they'll cling to this, be like, we just got to get rid of Joe Manchin and Sinema. And then we can, there's always this then. No. If the squad was true to form, they all would have camped out, not just Cori Bush. They all would have camped out. They would have camped out on the steps of the Capitol building for force to vote. But they can't do that because both of these parties are paid or corrupt, which is what this Lauren Elizabeth says. This was July 14th. Guys, I just organized my coworkers and we're demanding $15 an hour. What have we got to lose? They're giving some people $15 an hour and not us. Nah, fuck that. This place wouldn't have its 5-star rating to make it through COVID without us. She's a frontline healthcare worker. This is what you got to do. You got to organize. And expecting these corrupt politicians in both of these crybaby parties, R&D, revolving dipshits. You put a Republican in there, they're a dipshit. You put a Democrat in there, they're a dipshit. And then she puts this out, just some insight into what it's like working during COVID. I work in a nursing home in New York. Andrew Cuomo needs to resign. I'll never forget what our outbreak was like, and the governor needs to be held accountable for hiding what his policies have caused. This is our big, remember he was the big hero last year, talking tough on holding Trump to task. No one at MSNBC, nobody at MSNBC or anyone like that was holding him accountable for allowing people to die. I did stories on this. He let people die. Nobody cared about that. Now that there's like sexual harassment allegations coming out, which is legit, and he should resign for that as well. But why wasn't this? So you can kill thousands of people. That's okay. Sexual harassment, though, now we got to do something. And the only reason they're doing that is because there's enough people who are outcrying about it. And Joe Biden is like going to do something about Cuomo's sexual harassment. And Tara Reid put it to Joe. And it's all this just selective. So, we're going to finally do something about Cuomo. But no, none of the Vote Any Blue Will Too people had a problem with Tara Reid's story of how Joe Biden assaulted her. Nobody cared. And none of the Democrats cared about that. So you see just how ridiculous this is, right? How ridiculous this is. So, and people died in New York because of Cuomo's policies. His 10 years of shutting down hospitals and nursing homes. The nurses union in New York hated the guy. I thought the Democratic Party was all pro-union. No, only when they need it. They'll talk union talk only when they need an endorsement somewhere, but they're not really. The Democrats don't help the working party. Neither do the Republicans. Neither party gives a shit about the working class. But why does MSNBC? This is another thing that this woman put in her blog. I was going to make this as two separate segments, but they're actually the same. But why is, NBC that has his brother on and CNN, but let's talk specifically MSNBC. How come they weren't like outraged and screaming about these people dying in nursing homes? If they were actually doing journalism, but they're not, they do propaganda. Well, we know that big healthcare companies, big pharmaceutical companies buy ad time on MSNBC, as they do Fox and CNN and CBS and ABC and all them. But the other thing too, MSNBC is owned by Comcast. Comcast, we know, likes giving money to Republicans. Yeah. You think the media, you think there's such a thing as the liberal media? No, they're not. These are big corporations. People like, whatever, Tucker Carlson or Joyanne Reed or Rachel Maddow or Anderson Cooper, they're just paid actors to push a certain type of propaganda that's marketed to a certain type of people. But it's all propaganda to keep the 1% in power, keep the ruling class in power, and to keep us divided, distracted, and afraid. So they want you to pick a team. You team Tucker, you team Maddow. Pick a team. And then if you avow your allegiance to one of these teams, then they know they got you. I can target, I can propagandize you all you want. You know, that we'll just, then they know how then you're telling them this is the propaganda. This is how you market propaganda to me, because I've picked this red team or this blue team or the QAnon team or whatever. Right. But let's go into this. Again, this is the same woman, Lauren Elizabeth. Once again, as long as the politicians benefit a company's bottom line, that's all that matters. That's all these big corporations care about. These elections and these primaries, it's all theater so they can keep their power. That's all it's about. And these politicians get into power, people like AOC and the squad, and maybe they were running on good intentions. I don't know. We'll never know the answer to that. But we know for certain once they get brought in, AOC was all, when she first got into Congress, she was tweeting out, oh, only lobby groups are speaking to the freshman orientation. And she was calling out Nancy Pelosi on Twitter. And then they sat her down and went, hey, you'll become vice president or president. We're going to give you the keys to the kingdom, but you got to play ball. You got to get quiet. You got to play ball. And you got to only say it's the Republicans' fault. And they do the same thing with Republicans. They bring them, anyone who calls out the crimes and lies within the Republican Party, they sit them down and they go, don't show the American citizens that both parties don't give a shit about them. You need to blame everything on the Democrats, and then Americans will pick one of these sides. And as long, honestly, it's like a sports book at a casino. Let me tell you how a sports book at a casino, right? You got whatever. You got the whatever teams playing against each other for the Super Bowl. Who was in the last Super Bowl? We had Tampa, and I forget who the other team was. Kansas City, right? So here's how sports book. They set the betting line. I don't know what the last Super Bowl's betting line was, but let's just say whatever. Tampa Bay is favored by whatever, 6 points. Here's why they lay that bet, that they put that number at 6 points, because they hope we're going to get equal number of people betting for Tampa and equal number of people betting for Kansas City. Because when you lose in gambling at a casino, you have to pay a 10% juice, right? So if you bet $100, you lose 110. So if equal number of people bet on both teams, then they profit no matter what. Right? So that's all they care about. It's just that the sports book doesn't care who wins. They just care that enough people bet on both sides. Just like the big corporations don't care who wins. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. They generating money. And that's what this is. So Lauren Elizabeth went into, and I don't know her personally, but Indie Left News sent me this stuff. She went into our favorite website here at Political Vigilante, Open Secrets. Oh, it's the best. According to opensecrets.org, Comcast ranks 36 out of 21,691 in terms of contributions through affiliates donating over $15 million during the 2020 election cycle alone. In lobbyist spending, they ranked 15 out of 5,500 people in 2020, spending $14 million. While Comcast, almost 62% of Comcast spending went to Democrats, 34% also went to Republicans. That's hedging your bets. And I've shown you like the defense industry spends a little more on Republicans, but they still spent a lot of money on Joe Biden. Because they knew if Joe Biden wins, we want to make sure, he's in our pocket. And it's a smart bet. Joe Biden is vice president. Him and Obama dropped more bombs than Bush. They took us from 2 wars to 7. Yeah, this is just all. And I don't know if some MSNBC apologists go, yeah, but it's only 30. It's still a lot of money. 34% went to Republicans. That's hedging their bets. They donated to 213 House Democrats. And right alongside them, they donated to 177 Republicans. That's all right. We're betting on both sides. We'll go a little heavy on the Dems because they might take it back after Trump. Okay. But you better believe this is going to flip flop in 2022 next year. And that's why they donated, because they're like, if the Republicans gain control of the House again, well, great. We bought most of them anyway. 38 Democrats in the Senate took money from Comcast, and 27 Republicans did as well. Joy Reid, who called the Republican attack on voting rights intellectually dishonest and said they were using Donald Trump's delusional election lie as cover to strip people of their rights, right? So Joy Reid says that kind of stuff. This is the theater of it. But what do I tell you on the show? Follow the money, connect the dots. That's what looks like Lauren Elizabeth is doing. I mean, this is in the Hill. Rachel Maddow, GOP has become a party of fringe, violent, extremist criminal movement. But then why are you working at a company that gives millions of dollars to Republicans if they're this awful? There's that lawsuit that just came out saying Rachel Maddow's opinion is not fact. You see how this is just theater? This is professional wrestling? It's professional wrestling. Rachel Maddow makes probably an 8-figure income from the same company that gives money to Republicans as it does Democrats. She's just she's an actor. She gives the vote any blue will do liberals to go, yeah, Rachel, you tell them. And she gives the Republicans, oh, Rachel Maddow, she's part of those libtard problem. Like, great. Keep people divided. Keep thinking that your party and your TV station is better than the other party and the other TV station. Right? Employees of Wall Street firms like BlackRock Inc. gave over $181,000 to Joe Biden. BlackRock. And then $69,000 to the National Republican Senatorial Committee. Walmart's PAC donated considerable amounts of money to both Republicans and Democrats as well. I've shown you this in all these industries. They do this just to hedge their bets, just to guarantee that they got control of it. So that's why nothing changes. And that's why they have to control the narrative. And that's what I say about the corporate media. It needs, at the behest of the ruling class, because the ruling class owns all of these outlets, it needs to keep all of us divided, distracted, and afraid. That's why they get behind pushing all of this stuff. Any opinion you have that I have about the vaccine or masks, they help fuel people to be mad at me one way or the other, no matter what side you take. And they're helping, and some people are legit, but they help fuel that on social media. They need the country divided. They need the country divided. They need everybody questioning everything. And this William Casey, former head of the CIA, said that when everyone doesn't believe everything, then we know we did our job. Or I'm paraphrasing, but something to that effect. Everyone's fighting with each other. There's no unity. This is how they're doing it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth. That's what it is. And be able to ask questions. And don't pick a side. Don't pick a team. Don't pledge your allegiance to a person or a party or in anything. Pledge your allegiance to the truth. Pledge your allegiance to coming up with different points of view. Right? Try to figure things out the best that you can. Last week or so, I've been called a bunch of crazy stuff just because I want to feel safe on stage as a performer. Okay, cool, man. Shave your knuckles for justice. Boom. All right. MHC, Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Thank you for supporting us at rockfin.com/Graham Elwood. I'm increasingly starting to feel like a ton of policies need to be made non-negotiable. If we aren't going to get anything of substance anyway, I don't see any reason not to demand all of it and walk away from negotiations as needed. Yeah, I know. When you show someone I'll walk, that's the one. No, you don't get my vote. You don't get my money. You don't get my support. I'm out unless I get this. Well, how about if we concede? Bye. They have to deal with you. They have to deal with you. You got to force these people to deal with you. And that means forcing the squad and Nancy Pelosi to deal with you, forcing them. Don't care if they don't like it or they're front. The politicians need to be made uncomfortable. David Guevara, boom. Thank you, David, for supporting the show. Denny McCarthy, boom. Thank you for supporting our show. Could you provide a link to the article in Medium? Yes, I can. Let me find that. Let me find that article, buddy. Yeah, here is her, Lauren Elizabeth's Medium. I'll put this in both chats. Yeah, there you go. MHC, Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Thank you for supporting us and making Gotham great again. In my limited experience in major casinos, spending time on the casino floor earns you complimentary non-alcoholic drinks and air conditioning. But could you imagine a Democratic Party casino, 120 degrees, no drinks for less than $1,000 each and barely breathable air? But always remember that the other casino is said to be even worse. Lesser of two casinos. Great point. Always go with the lesser of two casinos. If anyone goes, hey, this casino system sucks, can we just like have a nice restaurant with maybe some live entertainment where we don't have to lose our money gambling and the drinks and food are reasonably priced? Fuck you. You hate America, or whatever thing they'd be told. Graham, why are you pushing the news on your audience? I know. I'm sorry. I keep forcing it. Yeah, somebody called me a Nazi in Jimmy's chat. That's hilarious. Of course. Yeah, I'm a Nazi now. Yeah, I can't. Am I a Nazi, or I thought I was a puppet for Big Pharma? I get those mixed up. Did you know that I'm on TikTok? Oh, well, a couple of my TikTok videos have gone viral. The one where I say I want to go shit on the floor, that's got 190,000 views. I got another one where I don't want to wear a seatbelt. It's got 110,000 views. I went from 50 to 3,500 followers. It's been a great. Yeah, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, boom, ba boom, ba boom, boom, ba 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 boom. Yeah, ba dee ba da boo, ba da ba da ba da boo, boo, ba 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 boo. I was gonna make it 2 segments. I'm glad I made it 1. It deserved to be 1 pure segment. The Lauren Elizabeth segment, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry. Wow, that was weird. Who would say those kind of things? Hold on a second. I wanted to look something up real quick. All right. We've got 440 likes, everybody. Outstanding. I hope to see Cory Bush put pressure on politicians in the future. So do I. Just bought tickets to your show in Asheville. Right on. Can one monetize on TikTok? My understanding is yes. You have to get to a certain threshold. You have to have, I think, 10,000 followers and 100,000 likes. And then you can apply for TikTok Pro. And my understanding is once you apply for TikTok, if you're approved for TikTok Pro, then you get paid something per video or something like that. That's my understanding. But I'm very new to TikTok. They brought back the mask mandate in my area. I'm really worried about the Delta variant. Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, a bunch of states have shown record numbers. You got to wear masks indoors again in LA now. And I don't know. It's kind of crazy. The numbers nationwide are very high. It's a little alarming. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do. It's a legit concern. Karen Schraufignagle. Hey, Karen, thank you for supporting our show. Want to see you in Minneapolis, but I honestly still afraid. If I sit there in a mask, will you understand? Of course, if you want to wear a mask through the whole any show, I won't be. I'm not an anti-masker. I'm not the whole point of my thing is everyone can make a choice. And I don't want anyone to feel afraid or unsafe at a show, man. If you want to come to a show and only, want to keep a mask on, go for it. That's absolutely. I wouldn't, if the whole audience was wearing masks, I wouldn't be offended or mad or anything like that. I'm not mad about that. That doesn't bother me at all. It's indoors is where the transmissions are largely higher. I get it. And I understand anybody's hesitations. I don't want anyone to feel unsafe or at any of our shows at all. That's why I said that I want to feel safe on stage. If we're going to do a 25 city tour, I want to feel safe. So, yeah, do whatever you do. What makes you feel safe for sure. I totally get it. Did I apply for testing Panquake? Yeah, actually, I'm one of all of us content creators that have been promoting and supporting Panquake. We're going to be in that beta group. So yeah, I'm excited to be in that beta group. I really am. It's going to be great. MHC, Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Karen, I offered to wear a hazmat suit, jokingly maybe, when I go to one of Graham's shows, and he was receptive. A mask would be fine. Yeah, if you want to fucking show up in a hazmat suit, I don't care. And whatever the venue, I mean, it comes down to each venue. Yeah, everyone thinks it's fake until they're on a ventilator. I mean, I know two people who they are vaccinated and got COVID, and they just weren't sick for a couple of days. And I talked to one guy about it. He goes, yeah, I knew that's why I got the vaccine. So I wouldn't die or have to be hooked up to a ventilator. I knew the vaccine isn't 100% going to just prevent you from never getting it. It's not a cure. Yeah, which is why I did it too. I was like, I don't want to be hooked up to a ventilator, man. I just don't. Yeah. Oh, Oh, we've got someone being rude. If you're going to be rude in the chat and just say you guys are dipshits, then you get blocked. So, that's, if you can't be polite and have a disagreement, then yeah. Yeah. There's people who are going through cancer treatments and are so immunocompromised. Yeah. Because that's a lot. Everyone's got to make a personal choice. Pecan pie is better with a hint of bourbon or rum. Good to know. Good pie update. The can is being kicked down the road, and they will do nothing to make these renters and homeowners whole again. Yeah, that's sadly the truth. I know I would have a hell of a time trying to make up months of back rent or mortgage. I know it's the thing Ron and I talked about, which they're just not going to do it. That's the thing that's so awful. They're not going to just go, here's a bunch of money to make everybody who's behind on rent whole, which helps the renter. It helps the landlord and the banks. They're not going to do it because it's more about a land grab. It's more about taking more property and squeezing every nickel they can out of all of us. That's what it's about. Yep. Matt S. Shave your knuckles for justice. Matt, good to see you, my friend. Looking forward to the LA September GovSeek show, Graham. Love to meet you, dude. Yeah, dude. Oh, so in addition to all the shows Ron and I are doing, we are doing live government secrets Saturday, September 18th. It's at 3:00. It's a matinee show at the Dynasty Typewriter in Hollywood. Dynasty Typewriter is run by two friends of mine, Vanessa and Jamie Flam, Vanessa Ragland. They're two funny performers that started this cool theater that does a lot of like alternative comedy and, it's just a good space, and they do a lot of like interesting stuff and live podcasts, and it's not just a traditional stand-up comedy club. But they do stand up there as well. It's a really cool space. I like the people that work there. So it's very, very cool. So that is, go to grahamelwood.com. And that is our first ever GovSeeks live in LA. You got to do it. It's going to be great. Boom. All right. $472 likes. Let's get that up to 500, everybody. So one of the things I'm going to start doing is I end the show singing karaoke, which is always a lot of fun. But I've been getting more and more copyright threats from YouTube. So when I'm going to end the YouTube stream and just sing the karaoke over on Rockfin, and you can sign up for Rockfin for free. So just go to rockfin.com/Graham Elwood and you can sign up for free. And I will, so I don't think the votes are Yeah, there's not an official count yet with the Nina Turner thing. So YouTube is forcing me to. YouTube just ruined the comic relief part of the show. Yeah, I keep getting these threatening. You're singing these songs. It's unlicensed music. I'm like, it's karaoke. So I got to do that over at Rockfin. So just jump over to Rockfin, everybody, and we will sing a song. Nina losing is okay. The Democratic Party's like the CIA. Once you're in for life. Now she can stay one of us instead of becoming one of them. Yeah, I hope she decides to then do what Paula Jean Swearengin has done and switch over to the People's Party. That'd be really great. That'd be really great. Thank you all so much. Karen Schaufrignagel. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. I feel like I'm not. Shaving Knuckles for Justice. Wish we could go to Government Secrets. Love that show. Love you and Ron and Lee and Jimmy and on and on. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all your support. It's pretty cool. And hopefully we'll be doing more. I mean, this Government Secrets is a test run. If we have a good turnout, then we'll do more of them live. So I appreciate that. Hopefully I'm working on if we can like film it. We're definitely going to record the audio and release the audio from it. That's going to happen. So you'll be able to listen to Gov Seeks live, even if you can't make it there. So you'll hear how much fun it is. So let me find a song saying. Status Coup live from Cleveland. Nina Turner election results. That's cool. Before we do that, though, let's just listen to Eisenhower talk about JFK getting assassinated.
I share the sense of shock and dismay that the entire nation must feel at the despicable act that took the life of the nation's president. On the personal side, Mrs. Eisenhower and I share the grief that Mrs. Kennedy must now feel. And we send to her our prayerful thoughts and sympathetic sentiments in this hour.
General, how would you counsel the American people at this time?
In the face of such a terrible thing, I'm sure the entire citizenry of the nation will join as one man in expressing not only their grief, but their indignation at this act, and will stand faithfully behind the government.
General, could you tell us how you got the word?
I was at a meeting for the United Nations, and while there, a member of the meeting was called out and came back and told us the news. Although at that time, We did not know the president was dead. We did not know when I got back here that time that he was dead. But matter of fact, we had the last message we had was one rather of hope. And the entire company merely paused for a minute at the request of the chairman, and each of us, in his own way, said a silent prayer for the president.
Should there be any concern, sir, over national security at a time like this?
No, I think the whole nation now would be almost all of it security agents.
Will the nation be all right in the few months ahead?
Oh, I'm not going to predict anything of that. I just say this. The American nation is a people of great common sense, and they are not going to be stampeded or bewildered.
Thank you, Mr. President. History have assassinations affected the political course of events?
Well, of course, in Lincoln's assassination, the presidency went to a man who was a registered Democrat, Mr. Johnson. In Garfield, I doubt that there was any. And, of course, McKinley, that brought in Theodore Roosevelt. Of course, there have been other attempts in late years. Mr. Truman was at a grave threat to his life, and Mr. Roosevelt, just before he was inaugurated, you remember, down when Mayor Cermak was killed, ran a very grave risk. These things have happened, and it seems inexplicable to me, because Americans are loyal. And it's just this occasional psychopathic sort of accident that occurs, and I don't know what we can do about it.
Could you say anything, General, about how people will feel abroad from all your experience with the United Nations and others? How will it be taken abroad?
Well, I think they will be a bit bewildered. This, in the civilized countries of the world, this doesn't happen so often. And you remember in the starting of World War I, the murder of the Archduke Ferdinand, I think his name was. Well, this itself almost, one of the contributory causes to that war. And, but here, I just don't know what happens. But we are a nation where our freedoms are allowed or are observed in such a way that everybody is ready everybody is, you might say, capable of doing this if he's ready to put his own life on the line.
Colonel, how will you spend the rest of today and tomorrow? How will you spend the rest of today and then tomorrow?
I have canceled the dinner date that I had for tonight. Tomorrow, I'm going immediately to my home, and if I'm wanted for any purpose whatsoever, I will, of course, be available.
Do you have any advice for the American people at this time?
No, as I said, I know the American people will stand solid, and they will not be stampeded.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Good night, fellows.
Eisenhower. China Madu, Shave Your Knuckles for Justice over at Rockman.com. The problem is that Americans will never challenge their political or corporate elites in a serious manner. They will instead blame immigrants, black people, poor people, and even people of other countries for their mistakes and problems. China, you could very well be right. It's Americans are having a hard time realizing who the real enemy is, which is the 1%. And they got to hold politicians accountable. They got to hold the politicians they voted for accountable. And they won't. You're right. I keep waiting for this. Now the people are starting to wake up. And it's not happening. My tone, the tone of this show, unfortunately, has gotten way more cynical because I'm just not seeing it. I'm not seeing Americans waking up. I'm seeing Americans easily propagandized, easily splintered, easily turned against each other. So I don't know. I just don't. I don't know what it's. I don't know. Chris Shave Your Knuckles for Justice. Looking forward to seeing you September 11th in San Francisco with my friend Farkas. Appreciate you fighting the good fight. Keep working for justice. You have much respect. The Eisenhower talk makes me think of the sound If I Was President. Oh, the song If I Was President by Wycliffe Jean. Maybe you could try to sing that. I'll sing that song. I know what song you're talking about.
Election time's coming.
Hold on. I don't know that there's a karaoke version of that. Of course. Watched Eisenhower's complete farewell address, and he predicted everything that's going on right now. I died in 1969, so he didn't get to see Nixon getting kicked out, but he rolled over in his grave. I know. 517 likes. I love it. All right, YouTubers. If you want to watch this last song, you got to go over to rockfin.com so I don't get another copyright strike, because I already have one that's supposed to be lifted today or tomorrow. So go over to rockfin.com. All right. We'll see you over at Rockfin. Thanks for watching, all you YouTubers. I really appreciate it. Since we've been so demonetized, we've had videos pulled down by YouTube. We have a copyright strike against us. I just can't risk it anymore. I'm sorry. So join us at Rockfin. I'll drop clips. I'm dropping clips every day on YouTube and Rockfin. So I'm trying to give you as much free content as possible. But that's unfortunately blame the CIA tube. Thanks, YouTubers.